Hey yo, it's Shayna coming at you today with another update video. Sorry, it's gonna be a really awkward update because, I don't know, I just feel very uncomfortable in myself right now. My hair's bothering me, my body is bothering me, everything's bothering me, so this will be interesting, but bear with me. Lots been happening, lots been going on since the last update, lots of interpersonal events, issues, which are actually not all entirely my fault, which you know shit's gotten crazy when even I'm able to admit that they weren't all my fault. Also, I'm trying to build a PC, which is pretty cool. In anticipation for Cyberpunk 2077. I got all the parts, I assembled most of them with a friend. I've had people help me out. I'm too dumb to really do all this shit by myself because I've been, working with MacBooks, for a long time, and I haven't interacted with a PC for a while, let alone built one, so it's been pretty interesting so far trying to assemble it. Over the weekend, I went to the store with a friend to get my mouse and keyboard. I think I spent like an hour and a half, maybe 2 fucking hours in the store trying to decide on the simplest shit. Like, I spent more time trying to decide on what keyboard to get. More time deciding that as opposed to when I was picking out the actual, supposedly, well, I mean, yeah, as opposed to picking out the important shit, like the CPU and the GPU and all this other shit. But I mean, if I don't like it, I can always return it. I think I have like 2 weeks. So I'm excited for that. I guess another thing is, in my last video, I was talking a lot about these stomach issues I've been having. Yeah, so I actually met with a different doctor who apparently was going to be able to give me a more sort of substantive test to see all the different types of bacteria I might have in my stomach that's causing all the issues. I'm fine to do the test and stuff, but between her sending it, me getting the test and completing the test and sending it back, and then interpreting the results and then giving me the results, that's gonna take about a fucking month. So I texted her saying, listen, I'm in a lot of pain, I stay up late on the bathroom floor worrying that I'm gonna vomit, and I would theoretically like to not drop out this semester of college because it's been really hard to get shit done. So basically, is there a way that you can prescribe maybe a short course antibiotic just until we get this figured out? I didn't think she'd say yes, but she did. And so now I'm on an antibiotic, but it's been hard because my sleep's been really off. So it's hard to take said antibiotic consistently. And I'm kind of worried now that I'm going to get antibiotic resistance and that I'm just going to contribute to the eventual and inevitable takeover of microbes. Not just in me, but within the world, Microbes will probably outlive humans, let's just be real. But in any case, I mean, it's been working. I haven't been as sick feeling, and I've been able to handle food better, and yeah, I'm pretty happy about that. So now for some interpersonal stuff, I guess. In my last video, I talked about how one of my exes, because I had 2 really bad breakups this year, and one of the exes, the one I wasn't with as long, he reached out and was wanting to have a friendship. Like, he cut me off for a bit, saying, I can never be friends with you because my feelings will always get in the way. And so I was like, if you don't want to be friends, that's fine. I'd like to be friends just because, we get along, obviously. And maybe not to the romantic extent, but, as friends, we had a good time. So I'll leave you unblocked on my email if you ever want to get in touch. And he did. And then when he did get in touch, like, I was going through so much fucking shit, with school. I was really behind, and my stomach issues were you know, big issues by that point. So I was like, there's so much turmoil in my life right now. I don't want to, like, I wasn't expecting him to reach out this soon. Actually, I wasn't expecting him to reach out at all. So now I have to really think about what the hell I want to do, because I was just going on the assumption that I'm never going to talk to him again. So this is a big 180 here. So my whole plan, if you could even call it that, was to get to it when I get to it, because I was going through so much other shit, you know, I didn't want to start thinking about this until I had adequate levels of energy, but he just could not wait, so he kept spamming me with emails and texts and calling me on different numbers and calling me on private numbers when I would block those numbers, because in addition to having all of my other life pains, I was also not exactly healed entirely from that breakup, and yeah, I wasn't ready to talk to him. And so he kept reaching out, and I kept blocking his shit, and then he kept making new shit. And then, you know, he started sending me packages and things like that. It was just getting really obsessive and really creepy, and I was feeling really unsafe. And it recently got to a point where the cops had to get involved, because he texted me again from a number that I didn't have in my contacts, and he was just like, hey, I'm gonna come by your place because I want to make sure you're not dead and all that. And I'm like, okay, first of all, if you want to know if I'm not dead, text one of my friends, you know. We have at least one mutual contact who would kind of know what was going on with me if he were to reach out. But he didn't. I think that he had other intentions. It wasn't just something as innocent or simple as that. And I really was not ready to talk to him. I didn't want to see him. I didn't want to do any of that. So I called the cops, being like, okay, so here's the thing. My ex has been stalking me, and he says he's gonna come over, and I'm freaking the fuck out right now. And basically, I don't know, I wrote it up, or I had them write it up in a crime report, because, I mean, I don't want him getting away with this shit, you know? Like, this shit has consequences. And then so I said, listen, like, I really do not want to talk to him. I'm worried that if I reach out, or if I respond to his messages and say, listen, I don't want to talk, that it's just going to open up the floodgates and it's going to encourage him further. So is there any way that you can call him and tell him to fuck off? And so they did. And the officer texted me saying that, oh yeah, he's not gonna talk to you again. Like, he indicated that he's not gonna talk to you again at all. But then he fucking emailed me after that. And it was sort of just the same obsessive stuff, and, you know, just like this sort of almost arrogant thing of like, please don't return my packages to me. Like, don't return to sender. Please just donate them instead to your local library or Goodwill. And I'm just like, bitch, I didn't ask for these packages. If you didn't want them back, then don't send them. You know, I'll do what I damn well please with them. It was a mess. And I was really like annoyed at the email too, because he's like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy you're alive. Oh, I'm so ecstatic. It's like, great, I'm glad you're happy, you know, after like forcing me to talk to you, you know, indirectly or not, after just fucking tormenting me with this shit. I mean, I know he's emotionally unstable, that he has issues with regulating himself, but it's really annoying when he's the one who hurt me, and then I'm also gonna have to be the one to be the bigger person and talk to him before I'm ready in order to help him feel better, you know, to emotionally reassure him. It's not fair, and it was so shitty. I was so pissed off this whole time, and yeah, I mean, again, just feeling really unsafe. The next day, it was, like, eerily quiet in my place. You know, my housemate was gone, and I just had a lot of time to reflect, and I was looking into restraining orders. When he reached out after he had hung up with the officer, he said it was going to be his final contact and everything like that. So, I mean, not all hope is lost, and it's been a few weeks since this whole thing happened, so I I'm feeling pretty decent about it now. I think he will likely fuck off for good now. But, you know, me researching restraining orders was almost weirdly cathartic for me, just because it was a good way for me to vent about what happened and trying to like gain back some of my autonomy that I felt like was taken from me because I was forced to confront the situation when I really shouldn't have had to. Like, it should have been his responsibility to make himself feel more secure emotionally, and to cope with his feelings, but no. And it's all very unfair, but that's just how it worked out. And, you know, at the end of the day, the officer was just like, do you want to press charges? You know, are you looking to prosecute him? Like, what do you want to do? And I was just like, I just want to be left alone, you know? At the end of the day, that's all I wanted. So even though it wasn't ideal, I did what I had to do to achieve that. And hopefully I did actually achieve that, and it's not just some weird period of silence, weird period of calm before the storm. And then finally, another crazy thing happened. One of my other exes reached out. So like I said, I had 2 breakups this year. One was with someone I was with for 2 years, and another I was with for about 4 months. The 4-month ex was stalking me, and the 2-year one, he was willing to be friends, but then he kind of dipped out because I made a lot of suicide attempts, and he could not handle those. And that, on top of everything else regarding the breakup and all the conflicts that led up to the breakup, I think he just really needed space. And you know, that's all fine and dandy, but he left me in a really huge time of need, and he was one of my biggest supports and someone who I felt the most close to. So the fact that he sort of just, you know, he just randomly messaged me saying that, you know, he was gonna block me on everything. And then, you know, just like a lot of other really insensitive things, like right after he blocked me, saying, oh, I think you have BPD, by the way, borderline personality disorder, and then texting my ex, my other ex, the one who was stalking me, the one I was with for 4 months, complicated, texting that one saying, you know, like, I wish I could tell you some things about her, sort of thing, like this warning almost of don't let your heart obscure what your mind knows. Just like, what the fuck, you know? So he reached out and he basically just said hi. That was it, you know? Very nonchalant. It's like, yeah, let's just pretend that how long was it? I don't fucking know, maybe like 5-month break didn't just happen. And in some regards, it was actually pretty, like, relieving to get that email. It was an email, because, I mean, I just wasn't sure if he was ever going to talk to me again, and there was just this sort of ache at my mind of, what's he think about me, and is he like, good riddance, bitch, I'm never going to talk to you again. So it's nice to sort of have some answers there, but at the same time, like, you know, the same thing where I just went through this awful stalky shit with my other ex, and the stomach issues, and being behind in school. It's hard to have all these shitty events happen one after the other, and then another one. I don't know if I want to start talking to him again. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, there's consequences to your actions, you know? Like, if leaving you thought was worth it, then it was worth it to you. But for me, that's not exactly something that I think I'm going to be able to forgive. Is a very huge abandonment. And I have a huge fear of abandonment. So I think that, combined with everything else, I'm not sure if I actually ever want to talk to him again or be friends with him again. But during his absence, I sort of just, I had a lot of feelings, you know, so I had to find some sort of platform to vent them on. So I basically wrote him a letter that I didn't send, you know, or I haven't sent yet, but I basically sort of outlined all the shit that that he did that hurt, and that I'm glad that he is taking a break and taking care of himself, but how I can't have him back in my life. And some of the things that he did that were just really big betrayals, between texting my ex, that very disrespectful thing, and emailing me, just being like, oh yeah, I've been like watching videos on borderline personality disorder. I think you have it, you know, it reminds me a lot of my experiences with you. It's like, oh great, and so those are your last words to me, huh? Before like you go on this long ass break that, well, I don't know how long it's gonna last, but it's gonna be noticeably long, I'm sure. So great, yeah, you know. And during the relationship, he kept insisting, I don't see you as an illness. But then, you know, he goes and says shit like that. So I basically outlined all that stuff about how it hurt me. And I think that, I was trying really hard not to be attacky in the letter. It was a little weird because I wanted to write the letter just to vent, but, for some reason, it didn't come out as me being like, you stupid bitch, I fucking hate you, you know, just like a true, like, raw emotion venting. It did turn out being a lot more, diplomatic and tactful than I thought it would be, but not diplomatic in a salty, fake way, you know, so I was expressing real feelings, you know, I wasn't saying fuck you, I was saying you hurt me, which, you know, when you say fuck you to someone, usually that kind of means that they got under your skin in some ways, and I just wanted to express it in, I guess, the most genuine way, because saying just fuck you isn't really descriptive. I think it's a disservice to know exactly how they could improve, and thinking that, you know, they would want to know where they went wrong and then just not telling them, leaving them scratching their heads. That's a pretty big way to torment someone, which when someone's hurt you as thoroughly as my ex hurt me, like, it's tempting, right? It's tempting to just sort of leave them in the dust and making them feel as lost and hopeless as they've made you feel. But I don't know. I just don't roll that way, I guess. I'm always wanting to provide people with the most knowledge as possible. And I've gotten better with doing that, even with people who really hurt me, people who I feel like I don't want them to know anything about me anymore, anything I'm going through. Obviously, like, there is a point where they can cross a line, and it's like, yeah, you're never hearing from me again. But I'm still pretty attached to this ex, which is also why it's hard for me. You know, it's hard for me knowing now that he wants to reconnect for show and that he's reached out. Like, at the end of the day, I am so mad at him, and I just, like, when I wrote the letter and edited it a few times, thinking like, yeah, I just cannot wait, like, until he reaches back out, if he's even gonna reach out, you know. He said he was going to, but, like, one of those things where I wasn't gonna believe it till I would actually see it. But I was like, I'm gonna send this because it's just so obvious that I cannot have this person in my life anymore. It is not healthy for me. It is not in my favor. But then when he reaches out, like, my first thought was, oh my gosh, like, I'm so excited. I want to tell him all about, like, the PCM building and what's been going on with my life and, like, all this crazy shit that's happened. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited, you know? And that is, you know, a big sign of how connected we were, how enmeshed we were, for such a long amount of time. That's just not something that you can detach yourself from easily. So it's hard for me to know exactly what to do. I mean, I know what has to be done. It's just a matter of bringing it up and trying to not get sucked back into it. And then also, like, reevaluating 69 million times, because I'm like, well, do I actually not want to get sucked back into it? Is it a pride thing? Is it a dignity thing? Is it an arrogance thing? Like, you know, it would actually be fine and maybe even, like, preferable in terms of my health. Like, healthier for me to be friends with him and I'm just avoiding it because of pride? Or is it actually not good for me? clearly I'm having some conflicting feelings. On one hand, I want to fucking dip out, you know, I don't want anything to do with him anymore. But on the other hand, again, I'm having these like, oh my gosh, I want to tell him everything, like now he's here and now we can reconnect and now like we can watch movies and do a bunch of shit. So I don't know what feeling's gonna win over, and I don't know when I'm going to know. And I want to decide before I talk to him again, because if I'm conflicted, then he's gonna have more sway over whether we'll be friends again or not. And I don't want him to. I want it to be my decision. I don't really want someone else to put me in a vulnerable position where they can hurt me some more. It's not ideal, you know? But then it sucks because it's putting him in the same position that I put my other ex in, where he's like, well, why isn't she answering and he's not getting any feedback. Luckily, this ex is a little smarter, and instead of just making a bunch of random emails and texting me on unfamiliar phone numbers and fucking sending me packages, he reached out to a mutual friend, and so, yeah, basically just saying, hey, can you message Shayna to let her know that I'm trying to contact her? And, so my friend told me, and I was just like, oh, like, I don't know what I'm doing right now, and I need to figure shit out, and I'm really not ready to talk to him, so can you just, like, not respond? I mean, he had already responded, but I was like, can you just not, like, let him in on anything, don't say anything else? And he did, and, my ex, like, texted him again, so I don't know, / I don't think he's gonna get as aggressive about it as my other ex did, because he's a lot less obsessive, but obviously it sucks being in the dark regardless, so I'm hoping I can figure my shit out. You know, it's such shit timing, but there's gotta be an opportunity, right? Or I just gotta make an opportunity. I just gotta put on my big boy pants and get it done, but something's really holding me back, and I hope it's not an unhealthy thing. I've read over the letter, and I still think it's very good, very well written, and worth sending in the event that I want to make that decision. Or even if I don't want to make that decision, just take out the part where I'm like, yeah, I can't have you in my life, and just sort of talk about what happened. Because no matter what happens, I do not want to pretend that he didn't hurt me, and that this was just like a weird, you know, blackout period where he said nothing to me, you know, he had me blocked and we didn't talk to each other for months, and oh, now, like, everything's just going back to normal. That's just not how life works with me. But yeah, that's basically my life. I feel like that's a pretty good description of what's been going on with me lately. So, yes. Talk to y'all later. Bye.